wasn't 아니지.
Mike.
Mic check, mic check. Mic check, mic check. Mic check. Mic check. Mic check. Mic check. Mic check, mic check, mic check. Mic check. Mic check, mic check, mic check, mic check. Mic check. I don't have a screen.
It's okay. You have the screen. You can see the screen. Hold on. Okay.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, and welcome to Things You Need to Know. I'm Sharon Douglas, your host. Thank you for being here live, and thank you for being here with us on YouTube. We're going to have a great episode today. We're going to cover things you need to know from a DBE perspective, my own. So why don't we get started? While we're getting set up here, I like to say to those of you that are now presently DBEs, we've got some action to take. USDOT have made a change. My expectation of myself and you is to go out there and look at what the changes are. We have representative here from TxDOT. We also have representatives on YouTube from TxDOT. Thank you again for supporting us. DBE views. They're going to be my views from when I started on the heavy highway and where I am today. But mostly the reason why I'm here is to support you moving forward. How did I get on the crooked highway? Wow, what a story. I'm going to give you about a 5-minute story of my past. When I first started, I was at UTA doing commercial work. I was having a great time. It was miscellaneous site work and streets. A young lady heard about a woman out there doing paving, street work, concrete, what we would call water features. But yet, I'm sure she heard about the fact I got in trouble with TxDOT. How did I do that? First of all, I didn't know that I had to get a permit to go into Cooper Street. Think about it. I'm in the neighborhood of UTA, and I'm thinking I'm okay to go about my business. Then there was a TxDOT truck pulled up and stopped me from working. You don't ever want to be stopped from your performance. What happens? You lose money. But graciously, they took me to their office, sat me down and explained the different details that I was missing. That was my first start, my first introduction. The next stage, a young lady that said to me, hey, I have an outreach, come to this outreach, you'll be interested. I don't mind mentioning the person's name, Angela Berry Roberson. I'll never forget. Thank you, Angie. So, my crooked road. Got over there with the outreach. I was so excited. Why was I excited? This is new adventure, new territory. I'm like, I'm ready to go. You know how we are. We think we know it. We think we can do it. So we jump into the fire. My fire was blazing. When I say blazing, I got out there, I started working, I started losing money. Why? Because I did not know what I didn't know to get to the heavy highway. First of all, did you know that TxDOT has a manual? It's like walking through the door with the Bible. Step by step, each scope is in that book. Each scope is identified how TxDOT wants you to do it. So take advantage of that. Go to the TxDOT portal, pull down that manual. My next situation, I start hiring people. People, that's money. Got in trouble with the IRS. Why? Number one, my accountant at that time told me that I was supposed to report earnings quarterly. What did I do? I reported them quarterly. Next thing I knew, IRS was walking in my door. Why? I had 70 people on the heavy highway. I was supposed to be paying them weekly. Did I know that? No. I was paying every other week. No. Now you're asking for trouble. DOL, Department of Labor. That can get you in some crucial situations that you can't get out of. You can go out of business. So I worked out a deal. You heard me, I said a deal. I negotiated with the IRS. We don't always get past them, so don't try. The next stage, here we are, we have an equipment issue. I have more work than I can really handle. Understanding, measuring my capability, my capacity. Didn't understand it completely. I do today, and believe me, it's worth understanding your processes. So I purchased equipment, I purchased trucks, I leased equipment, I leased trucks. What am I doing? Spending money. Now, I'm spending money that I really didn't have. You go into credit card debt, you go into family debt, you go into association debt, period, debt. So these are things that we want to talk about. The other side of it, I got to a point where I was growing again. However, I felt like I was letting the contractors take charge of my business. I'm sure you understand what I'm saying. I'm letting them take charge. I'm letting them manage when I had lost control. So what does that say? I am not a DBE contractor. A DBE contractor is one that owns 51% and they manage the business all the way down to signing that check. Now, let's move on. I told you a lot about what I had to roll through, and that is a lessons learned. Next slide, please. Is your company DBE certified? Again, let's identify what DBE is. Disadvantaged Business Enterprise. What does that mean? Again, you own 51% of that business. You manage and control that business. I didn't say 51% of it. I said you manage and control that business. You're the person that walk around with the checkbook. You're the person that sign it. All right? The other thing, I can interject here, CUP, commercially usable function. Now, what am I saying? That means that you're the person out there with your equipment, with your people, you're performing that job. That's the DBE. We can't let a subcontractor come in and perform all our work. When we get a contract, 30% of that contract must be performed by us. Now, if you want to actually subcontract out 70%, which I wouldn't recommend, then that is still under your control. Let's keep on going. how to get certified. Now, so many times I hear contractors, small contractors, talk about going to other people to do their paperwork. Come on now. Please understand that you have got to look at yourself and say, do I want to spend the money? Why would you do that? The information you're giving that person, all right, that's information coming from you. Why would you pay somebody to do what you can do yourself? Because one thing I know about both of these organizations, they're going to show you how. If you have questions, there are people there that can assist you. And we call this NCTRCA. All right, you can do the long name, North Central Texas Regional Certification Agency. Now, TxDOT, TUCP, both organizations are structured to make sure you understand how to fill out your applications. Be prepared. There's a checklist. And I'm going to suggest that you go through the checklist. Next. I'm going to suggest you go through that checklist and make sure you're prepared, like your driver's license. A lot of times you don't carry it around. Have it there. Your proof of identity in any other way, you need to make sure you can provide that. The other situation is that you want to make sure that you have all of your financials ready. We'll talk about that because a lot of times our back room is not ready. We don't understand what it means to have a balance sheet. We've got to get there. And again, the reason why I'm here is to get us stronger, to help. We're a team. Let's make it happen. What will we need? Just covering this. That checklist is going to show us. So let's get an example of the checklist. Next screen, please. Just so happens, this particular checklist is LLC. Identify your business. You could be a sole proprietorship, you can be a limited partnership, you could be a limited liability company, you could be a corporation. Understand what your business is. So this checklist will take you all the way through. My suggestion is that you identify each line item, check it off, put it on your desktop, put it on a piece of paper and go through it and check it off. By the time you get ready to fill out your total application, you're not stopping. It's not taking you days to accomplish this. Next screen, please. I've identified the agencies. Now we're going to talk about NAICS codes. How many of you have had issues with NAICS codes? Why? Every 5 years, NAICS codes change. They update. Your NAICS code you had 5 years ago may not be the same NAICS code you use today for the scope of work that you do. So crucial. I'm emphasizing. NAICS codes identify your scope of work. It describes your scope of work. Make sure you have those. Make sure they're correct. Do not expect TxDOT or NCTRCA to make changes to your NAICS codes. They will not update your NAICS codes for you. You've got to be responsible to do that yourselves. Now, this is one that I would say to everyone, read it. Read it. It actually explains what the NAICS codes are for, but one thing I have found out, Google is my best friend. Google is my best friend. When I'm looking for something and I'm puzzling my head and I said, I've got to get better, I've got to get more read on what is affecting me as a business owner. So what do? I go to Google. NAICS codes throughout that. I actually do concrete work. I do excavation work. There's several codes that could fit my NAICS code. But if I'm not familiar myself, how can I communicate to anyone else what I do? How can I put a NAICS code on a document and say, that's me? Because guess what's going to happen? You are interrupting a possibility of an opportunity of getting a contract. If your NAICS codes are inaccurate, then that contractor is going to bypass you. We don't want that. Next, please. Now, this is emphasizing exactly what I just spoke about. Description. There's a directory. There's a directory with you in it if you are a DBE. You want to make sure you go to the directory and the information in there is correct. If you do not, then you're only sacrificing yourself because you will miss out on those opportunities. This is great. TxDOT is huge. 25 districts. I'm going to suggest to you, here I go on my story again. Once upon a time, there was a DBE contractor out there, and I'm just cruising along thinking I can do it all. I can go from city to city. I can go San Antonio, Houston, Fort Worth, Waco, Austin. But what am I doing? As soon as you mobilize, you're spending money. As soon as you tell your folks, we're getting ready to mobilize to another project, you are spending money. So my suggestion as a DBE to another DBE, identify the locations nearest you. It's okay to put a circle on a map. That's what I did. I took a little round ball, half ball, dropped it down on the map. My office is in the center. So once I circled that area, that was as far as I was going. So that kept everyone in line. Now, what was there? Waco, Austin, no further than Austin. Tyler, no further than Tyler. Because then I am controlling my destiny. So again, 25 districts. You can work in any of those districts, any of them. But be sure you visit the locations so you know what you're getting into. Build a relationship with that district office there to identify who is a coordinator in the area, because that person can also assist you in locating other people that will be involved in the projects. This is a biggie. Compliance. You heard me talk about CUF. The CUF is C-U-F, Commercial Usable Function. If you are not abiding by this rule that is set forth by us, by TxDOT rather, you're in trouble, because TxDOT will audit you. If you can't provide a lease agreement for the equipment that you have on site, if you can't identify that the people that are working for you are your people working for you, identify what their positions are, identify who's responsible for ordering materials for your location, or even better yet, present an invoice to that location, then you're not in compliance. I assure you, you don't want that problem, because you can easily be taken off the project. So let's make life easy for us. Compliance again. Be sure the people work for you. Be sure the equipment you have is assigned to your company by name. Be sure you can prove that you have rented this equipment. Provide the information that is requested at the time the CUF happens. So important. Plans, specifications, and schedule. If you can't read the plans for the jobs that you do, the scopes of work that you decided you wanted to do, what are you going to do? Who are you going to depend on? My suggestion, depend on you. Learn how to read the plans pertaining to your scope of work. That's essential. That's the survival mode. Educate yourself. If you need assistance, I'm here. There are several organizations that can help you. There are people in TxDOT that can help you to guide you to the right person or guide you to the right contractor. That's totally involved when it comes to advocacy. The schedule. I'm going to take a pause and say, scheduling can get you in trouble if you don't understand the first step. The first step is to be ready. The first step is you've already communicated with the project manager, superintendent of that project, and you know exactly what their expectations are. Scheduling. That means that you keep a long-term relationship with that particular general contractor because you were on time, you provide the manpower needed to be successful. So crucial, knowing the job. You walk out on a project. I'm going to take Sharon. I'm always going to be your example. You walk on a project and you say, oh, I know how to do that concrete work. Just because you know how to do it doesn't mean that's the way the contractor or TxDOT wants it done. You go by the specifications of the TxDOT manual. Even though you have your contract, even though you have the drawings, use your manual. Again, that manual is like the Bible of the highway. Excuse me. Next, please. Now, you see the list I have here, and this is trying to get you ready. But this is not all there is to this list. Crewing, again, I can't emphasize enough. Don't send just anybody out to a project. Don't just hire somebody off the street and send them to your project. We got to get stronger. How do we get stronger? We train our people. We assign them to the seniors, they get trained up, and then we move them out to the project. But the most embarrassing part of being in this business is for me to see another small contractor go out of business. Not only is it an embarrassment, but it hurts me. It hurts me even though that person doesn't even sit at the table with me. It hurts me because that small contractor was steady moving fast, steady trying to build a life for themselves. And when I look at one person, I look at the family that follows them. So therefore, it's just not one individual that lives have been impacted. So again, crewing, train your people. Make sure they're ready. We can talk about that too. We're gonna have a Q&A after this. And please ask any questions that come to your mind because each one of these I've gone through. Scheduling, we touched on that. Be ready. Understand what the processes are. Talk to the people that are located on the project. Also, a lot of times you don't know who to go to. That keeps you from moving forward. That's where you go to your outreach. That's where you reach out to your TxDOT coordinator in the district to say, do you know who's assigned to that particular project? Do you know who that person is that I can reach out to and identify myself and sit down with a one-on-one? Let me also put myself out there to say, give me a text message, an email, and we'll make sure you are going down the right path. Equipment, essential. Equipment is what controls. I don't care if it's a typing or it's a what do you call it, a scanner or whatever the case may be, laser. If those are the parts of your scope of work, be sure you're ready. They work. Make sure they work. Don't get a piece of equipment out to the project. Next thing you know, I'm with me, track hoe, all right? I get it out to the project. Make sure it works before it gets there. All I'm saying here, preparation, preparation, preparation. Working capital. Now, so many times we have a struggle to find banks that's going to support us. We continuously try and maneuver to banks, to other resources, and we get turned down. All I'm saying to you, if your working capital is not there, do not put yourself in a situation that you're going to fail. Start small. When I say start small, start a small project. Right now, when I talk to small companies, I'm saying $50,000. All right, let's do it together. $50,000. When you finish the $50,000, let's move to the $100,000. All right. So we're moving in those small steps to make sure that you're successful. Insurance, you got to have insurance. You cannot get a TxDOT project or really any other project without insurance. General liability, workers' comp, auto, the umbrella insurance, pollution insurance. Now, I said these really rapidly, but those are the necessities to get on the project. Make sure you have an insurance agent, build that relationship. And you keep hearing me say relationships because that's what's going to carry you throughout your career as an entrepreneur. The bonding side of it, you may not be able to bond now, but through this course of action that we're taking, I say we are taking, hopefully in the future, you will be able to bond. What's necessary for bonding? Again, the back room must be set up properly. The balance sheets must be set up where the bonding agent can completely go through them and identify if you are bondable. On TxDOT jobs, a lot of times, we do not have to bond. I say that's a blessing. However, you may get to a point where you're growing and you may get to a general contractor that really doesn't know you and they may ask you to bond. So you have to get preparation. You have to be ready to do this. Negotiating price escalations. We are all in the same boat here. We're all suffering through the escalations of materials. We're all suffering through delivery of our materials. So what do we do to save ourselves or help save ourselves? We communicate. Communicate to the general contractor. You know, you may have bid a job back in 2018. Oh my God. You know where you are today. And I'm going to say bluntly, you're stuck. Because right now in TxDOT have not changed their approach to the general contractor to support them with all the escalations that are happening. That was the last word I had. If I'm making a mistake on the statement, then I'll come back to you with that. But my present information says that TxDOT have not approved providing escalation charges to the general contractor. How does that impact us? Well, it's a trickle-down effect. And that means that we will not be supported. So you are in a bind. Evaluate where you are. Talk to the general contractor. Because this represents a problem not only for you, but for the general contractor. So communicate with them. Be sure they understand that you are coming up short materials on their project. And just hopefully, they will purchase those materials for you. Because now the material may be 15% higher than what you bid in 2018. Again, escalations. We are going through it. I feel your pain. We're all in it together. Communication, that is crucial in today's world of escalations for the small contractor. The material impact, right now, I can explain from my side, concrete shortages. I have 6 suppliers, 6, and I'm still struggling to supply at my different project sites. So no, we're all in it together. Next slide, please. This is good. TxDOT allows labor-only contracts. I'm going to say it again. TxDOT allows labor-only contracts. What does that mean? That means that you can provide labor and equipment to the general contractor. You don't have a heavy burden. You don't have a heavy lift on your shoulders. Because once that happens, again, you just heard me talk about escalations. This gets the escalations off of you. Talk to the contractor, negotiate being a labor-only contractor. If not, then talk about that contractor still supplying the heavy materials. When I say heavy materials, again, concrete, rebar, walls, pipes, those things that are high dollar in the industry. Next, please. You just heard me talk about this one. This goes back to communication. If you have a problem, talk about it. Don't hold on to it. Another story. I am on 35W. I'm out there with other small contractors. And this contractor is struggling, all right? And we're really both struggling because we're having concrete issues. We're having concrete shortages. This contractor kept on going without communication, kept on going without saying anything, because when I went to the office to communicate, they said they hadn't heard anything from anyone else. Okay? Guys, be with me on this one. Communicate issues that you have on the project. Don't let one DBE walk in the office and stand alone. When I walk in the office, I'm not only fighting for myself, I'm fighting for you also. I'm letting them know we're losing money. But that story goes to say, this person was there in December. But when January came to start that project back up again, that person was gone. That person was out of business. Why? Again, that person was losing money because concrete yields. When I say yields, that means supply was coming in short loads. The trucks may come in with 8 yards. The trucks may come in with 9 yards. It's a 10-yard truck. So who's paying for the concrete? We are. Next, please. Starting small. It's always okay to start small. Again, you heard me talk about that earlier. If I present to you a $50,000 contract, no, let me back up. One day I was talking to a young man, and he talked about a contract that he was going on. He said, but it's only $15,000. I said, and? If it's $15,000, do the job. You're going to get paid for it. That contract ended up not being $15,000, but it ended up being 18 months of a project. So multiply. So he understood after that. Don't just look at what's being presented to you. This may be an opportunity for you to show the contractor, number one, who you are, build that relationship, do quality work. Emphasis, quality work. Be happy with your work. When I walk away from a project, and my guys always smile at me when I say this, man, that's pretty. That's what you want. You want to make sure that you acknowledge the folks that do the job for you. You acknowledge your work looks good even to yourself. So therefore you know that you're giving it your all. Understand everything that is required of you. Don't guess. Don't assume. If you question, make a phone call. Send an email. Send a text message. You can send it to me, or you can send it to the district, or you can send it to someone that you built a relationship out on that project. But most of all, do something. Again, small is good. You know, maintenance projects. Maintenance projects are $300,000. You can get evaluated, pre-qualified for that. But if you're looking for a project that's $301,000, you just lost, because that is as far as you'll go. Is $300,000. You're evaluated, and if you want to graduate from that standpoint, you have to get audited financials. But let's start small. I'm still small. I'm enjoying being small. So now we're going to have a Q&A session. Next slide, please. This is things you need to know. I'm looking forward to answering any questions that the audience may have or you may have on YouTube. Any questions? Yes, ma'am.
What is the certification time frame at this point now to become a DBE certified with the North Central Texas Regional Certification Agency?
Good question. And just in case you didn't hear it on YouTube, what is the time frame for North Central Texas Regional Certification Agency to certify a DBE? Let me tell you from experience, I've been working with DBEs to get certified here recently, and it's anywhere from 90 to 120 days. Let me make this statement. It's gotten better, because 90 to 120 days is a lot better.
As a follow-up question, is there a priority for contractors if they have a contract with one of the member entities? Is there an escalation? I mean, given if the DBE can show that they have a contract pending or a subcontract pending, is there an escalation process to become certified as a DBE?
Communication. The question was, is there an escalation process to get a DBE certified if they have a pending contract? The answer today is yes. I'm going to say it like this. It's not what you know, it's who you know, okay? So true in all of our industries. It's not what you know, it's who you know. You know me, and I'm going to fight for you to make sure you get your certifications done. I make phone calls all the time for DBEs to get certified. We need you on the project. Yes, sir.
My name is Jose Benitez, and I'm owner of Central Resources. So let's assume that you are already certified, that your online presence is where it needs to be, and that you have the capacity to take on projects given the scope that exists. What, in your opinion, what is the very first thing that you would recommend that a company does to ensure that they want a project? And I'm going to give you a timeline, say within 12 calendar months. What is the very first thing you would do?
First of all, and thank you for that question, Jose. First of all, I would make sure I understood who's in charge. Who's in charge of making those decisions? And the first phase, though, is for you to understand who first is in charge, and that's TxDOT. Secondly, who is in charge is the business coordinator for you. So if you get the business coordinator involved, and I'm going to identify who she is, Marcia Barron is right here in Fort Worth. So you're a lucky guy today. Marcia is the coordinator for TxDOT, Fort Worth District. So when you said that you had everything out there, I'm going to say to you, Jose, I could do everything in the world that I think is good for Pateri Construction. However, if you put it out in the eyes of others, get critiqued so you can find out, am I missing something? Is there something that my presentation is not speaking to that person that is viewing my site? You follow me? Mm-hmm. Because then you're going to do another phase. You're going to say, hey, Marcia, I'm Jose. This is what I do. I need your help. Would you review my capability statement? Getting guidance, building that relationship. And right now you're communicating. These are your concerns. What I'm hearing is that you got the right things out there that you feel, but you're not getting any traction.
Yeah, and that's why I worded it that way, because I wanted you to assume that it is there, that it's right. Now, everything is great, all the paperwork, online presence, capability statement, you're good, it's been reviewed, it's perfect. Now what? That's where, you know, and I'm not just talking about TxDOT, I'm also talking about other entities.
Yes.
You know, whether it be state or federal that recognize a DBE or recognize an 8A. You've already been told, this is great, this looks great, you're good. That's, you know, that's where a lot of DBEs, I think, get stuck. You're like, okay, now what? I've done everything I've been told, everything's been reviewed, I've gotten a lot of yeses that this looks great, and then you're stuck. So, and that's where my question, but finding who makes the decisions, I love it. That is a wonderful first step, yeah.
That's key. That's key because, again, building those relationships. The lady I told you about earlier when I was speaking, Angela Roberson, I'm still in contact with her. She's not in the same position anymore, but I'm still in contact with her after all these years. I met Angie back in 2010 when I first got on the rocky road, the crooked road to 635 LBJ. Relationships. And when I have a question, I was introduced to a young lady, Martha Arnold from TxDOT headquarters out of Austin. And when I was really frustrated, I made that phone call. If you don't get her on the phone, then you email. Be persistent, because that's your future. So you take advantage of the fact you have someone local. You take advantage of the fact you have someone on a project. You take advantage of the fact you have someone that is in the headquarters to move you forward. I call it, let's move that needle. And that's the purpose. And I'm right here. I am also the person, take advantage, ask the questions. Now, we're going back to the certification, and I'm going to say that you're out there, you've got the right things out there, and now your next move is communication, relationship.
I'm Michelle Green Ford, President, CEO of Fort Worth Metropolitan Black Chamber of Commerce, and I am excited about this presentation today. The information has been very, very clear on many areas, so excellent, excellent work. I do have a question, though. Often I hear about the opportunities in construction and how there's vast opportunity, and then in our cities, in our communities, I see young people who don't seem to believe there's any opportunity for them unless they go to a four-year college. And I would just like to know what your opinion is, or how you would, what you would suggest for bridging that gap for the individuals who desperately need to see an excellent career opportunity, and others who don't have that vision, they don't see it to match all this demand and need that we see in our Metroplex right now?
Good question. I'm working on that. And the reason I can say I'm truly working on that in the schools, we can start with sixth graders and move forward. If we start with sixth graders, we're already planting that seed. We're telling them the opportunities are here. I gave an example on our last show about 35W. 35W has been recreated for the past, when I was 7 years old. It's been constantly reconstructed. So construction will always be here. With a young person, I can emphasize they can make $150,000 annual just being a plumber or electrician. I can emphasize to them, if you don't choose to go to a four-year college, then go to trade. I can emphasize going to an apprenticeship program because education is there. I can also emphasize that as general contractors, as a contractor, we are responsible for giving back to our communities that we work in. So pull these young people in. The age 18 is for us to be pulling them in. Any other questions? Yes.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Tammy Pierce, Chair and founder of United Black Contractors Association. So very proud of you, and I'm honored to be here again.
Thank you.
I have a question to add to what Ms. Greenford, I'm not sure I said it right, Ms. Greenford said. Why do you think, as African Americans, we walked away from construction and the trade industry?
You know, I ask that question so many times because I see the historical pictures of us. We started the railroads, we started the heavy highway concrete, we started building, we were masons,
Right.
you know? And I think, personally, my opinion, I claim it, that we got beat down so much, we got degraded so much in what we were doing. So the key point here is that beat down kept us down for so long, we got used to it. But here we are today. The things have changed. We are growing up out of the earth again to take claim to an industry that we started with. Our education started here because what do? We worked with our hands. We've always known how to work with our hands. So that's my true feeling about that is we got battered down so much that we just let it go. Thank you. I'd like to thank everyone for being here. I'd like to identify who's in the audience, starting with United Black Contractors, Tammy Pierce, Jose Benitez with Centra, Michelle Greenford from the Fort Worth Metropolitan Black Chamber, and Marcia Barron from Textile Fort Worth. Thank you all for being here. And we also have Carol Clayton in the audience, who is actually controlling the scene right now, and she's telling me we are winding down. Thank you for joining us on YouTube. It's been my pleasure. Don't forget, you can contact me. I'm an advocate for you. We're gonna grow from here. We're gonna become stronger. Why do we need to become stronger? Because the general contractors need us. Thank God the government have said we have a percentage. We have a place in this industry. So let's make it work. Don't give the contractors a reason not to promote us, support us on their projects. I look forward to seeing you on episode 11. Let's have fun out there. Call me.